Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme: Dundee United sack Mixu Paatelainen and look to a former player in Ray McKinnon to take over the job. Alan Archibald extends his stay at Partick Thistle, and Anne Budge, the Hearts owner, says she would welcome Hibs back into the Premiership next season. Alan Ruff is alongside me. Peter Martin, our bookroom guest, I'm delighted to say, is the head of the Scottish football writers, Mark Guidi. So, in the end, Ruffy, it just wasn't good enough for Dundee United chairman Stephen Thompson. He sacked Mixu Paatelainen. Was it the right decision?
Yeah, I think it was. I think his record speaks for itself. He went in and gave it a good go, but it wasn't good enough. And there was lots of things going on behind the scenes. And I think at the end of the day, I think the owner has to take most of the blame, but unfortunately for the manager, he picked him and it hasn't worked, so yep, I think he has to move on.
Yep, you just touched on that record there. I mean, he had a considerable amount of time, Mark Guidi, and as you can see from the record, 18 defeats, 4 draws, only 8 victories. He had a considerable amount of time. I thought it was maybe a cheap shot actually saying, the previous manager was to blame. I thought he had enough time to actually try and turn it around.
Yeah, he had plenty of time to turn it around, and it was poor Peter to start shouldering or putting some of the blame onto the previous regime. And it just goes to show you that sometimes you should stick with what you've got. It's better the devil you know. Jackie McNamara knew the club, but it was almost as if Stephen Thompson wanted to try something different. It didn't work out, but Mixu Paatelainen had plenty of time, and unless I'm mistaken, Dundee United were second bottom when Mixu took over. So for them to finish bottom with that kind of squad and bringing 1 or 2 in January, not good enough. I don't like to see anybody losing their job, don't want to see Mixu losing his job, but I think it's the right decision for someone new to come in and try and take the club forward. But for the overall benefit of Dundee United, the sooner Stephen Thompson sells up and gets out, the better.
Yeah, and just on the appointment of Mixu Paatelainen, with Stephen Thompson, quite happy to share the limelight with Jackie McNamara when they were developing young players. Suddenly, the strategy changed when Mixu Paatelainen came in. Suddenly, there was experienced players being drafted in right, left, and centre. Ruffy. Yeah,
well, you have to say when Mixu went in there, that must have been the policy that he gave to the owner. That must have been what he had said, that how he was going to change the team around and identify players to come in. But even the players that he was identifying coming in, they hadn't played at any level for a long time. He was just relying on their CV, and certainly some of them had CVs that you would have thought, all right, he looks a good signing, but it just never worked.
Yeah, he brought in a new goalkeeper as well. I think it's all right. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. I think a lot of fans would have looked at what was happening under Jackie at Dundee United and thought, just shut up shop, make it difficult to beat them. In the end, sometimes they would dominate games, but they were always susceptible to losing that goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes Mixu preferred a back three, and I did think that left them open. I remember them doing a Hamilton game at Tannadice, Peter, and they were well in control. Billy Mackay missed a sitter or two, and then Hamilton just hit them in the break, won the game, and really Dundee United should have been 3-0 up. So they were, in some ways, they were unfortunate. Again, the bigger picture, I'm sorry to see Dundee United go. Big club, good training base, good supporter foundation. There'll be a loss to our Premiership, but however, if you finish bottom, you deserve to go.
Ray McKinnon,
really good coach. Affection for Dundee United, had a really good spell there twice. Certainly, he knows what he's doing. You look at Wraith Rovers' record; it's terrific. But what happens if he takes Wraith Rovers up? What happens if he gets them through? Clearly Dundee United are a bigger club, but someone of that ilk for sure is who Dundee United should be looking at.
I wouldn't make a move, even if Dundee United phoned me, Ruffy. I'd be waiting and hanging out to see exactly what's happening in these playoffs, especially the match against Hibs, because the two of them are very even.
Yeah, it certainly is. But I think there's so many managers out of a job just now, and Dundee United, as Mark's touched on, are a big club. But with that owner there, anybody going in there is taking a chance. But when you're out of a job, possibly for a year or two, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and take it, and hopefully that it all changes while you're in there. And there are certainly quality managers out there who would fancy Dundee United.
Yeah, you mentioned there that obviously the supporters want the chairman to call time on his reign there. it's not that easy, Mark, trying to find somebody to come in and suddenly buy into a club. And most supporters want a say, because that's the way Scottish football is going at the moment. The supporters want on the board. And of course, you've got to have an individual who's got a fair amount of money, the same way the Thompson family had over a considerable amount of years.
Well, you look at, if you take an example, Peter, of St Mirren, who the club's been up for sale for years. They thought they would sell it once or twice, didn't get over the line, and whatever the figure was. Now, I believe that probably the figures half, maybe more than half, since St Mirren have been relegated, and they still can't get it away. The supporters are close to buy it. So you look at Dundee United, if Stephen Thompson was looking for figure A, rather than the Premiership, he ain't going to get that now because they're a Championship club. So in some ways it might make it easier if he's just saying, well, I'll just need to cut my losses and go. Or in other ways, people might say, why do I want to buy a Championship club in Scotland? Yeah,
and would you back them to make it a one-hit wonder and get back at the first time of asking, Ruffy?
No, I think we all know how competitive that Championship is. You know, the teams that are in there, you know, and there's no giving at all. We spoke about Dunfermline there, who are on the rise, you know, 6,000 supporters going in there, they're on the up as well. And I think it'd be a very, very competitive division next year. So the manager, whoever it is when he comes in, has got a big ask on him.
Yeah. As far as the playoff race is concerned, Ruffy, nice that I think that Partick Thistle have given Alan Archibald an extension to his deal and a secure future, even although they're not out of the woods yet at the bottom end.
No, I have to say, and I've said it all along, you know, credit to the board. People that are there just now know exactly what Alan's doing on the park and behind the scenes. And if more boards acted the way that the Partick Thistle board, because there was, for 2 or 3 seasons, Alan was always languishing about down at the bottom there, but he always had managed to take them away from the pressure. And I think the board have been terrific in standing by him, and even better to give him another couple of years.
Always helps when you've got supporters who are understanding of expectation and reality.
Yeah, they do. Although as Ruffy well knows, the Thistle fans can be unforgiving when they're in the mood, but I'm delighted for Alan Archibald. He's a talented young coach. You look at his record from when he took over from Jackie McNamara, had the difficult task of getting up in his first season, which he managed to do. He got it over the line, and he's kept him up with a bit to spare. I know Saturday's a big game for them, Peter. They can't afford really to lose at Kilmarnock, but Alan Archibald, delighted, and he'll do well for Partick Thistle, continue to do well. Yeah,
absolutely. They are a demanding support, and sometimes difficult to sit in that Jackie Husband stand. Ruffy, I can remember myself and Derek Johnson commentating in a game in there, and I said to Derek, "You're on fire today," and he went, "You think so?" And I went, "No, you're on fire. Somebody's thrown a cigarette on your hair." They were a hardy bunch in there. I didn't want to argue with them.
Yeah, well, you'd have to tell me. I was there for a long, long time, and there was one particular time when I was injured and I was sitting up in the stand, and there was one of the supporters sitting just in front of me, was absolutely slaughtering Dennis McQuaid. I mean, every 5 minutes he was giving him, and I turned around to him and I said, "Dennis got transferred 6 months ago." And he says, "I just didn't like him, so I just keep shouting at him anyway."
It's good enough for me, Ruffy. That backs up my claim. No harm whatsoever to the Thistle fans, but always good for a bit of banter as well. Just one thing before we get into the break. Anne Budge, the Hearts owner, has said she would welcome Hibs back up. You can understand why, from an Edinburgh perspective, it's great to have Hibs back up as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've lost the Dundee derby now, so if Hibs can come up, you've got the Edinburgh derby, you've got the Glasgow derby as well. So yeah, absolutely, Hibs are a massive club, and I think, Peter, considering the way the board have backed Alan Stubbs the past couple of years, I've not looked at their accounts, but I'd imagine it's vital that they get up, and if they don't, they might have to look at selling one of their assets to keep going the way they've been going the past couple of years.
That would be a blow, Ruffy.
Yeah, it would be a blow, because we know the asset that he's talking about, and he would be a big, big miss. But certainly, I think they have got everything in order. I think every time you hear Alan speaking, I think he's there for the end product, and he'll be hoping it is this year, not next year.
Yeah, it is crucial to get it, because they've only got two. A couple of those players will be heading back to Celtic as well, Ruffy. So. Yeah,
I think he realises, the situation. But I think even although if they went up, there would be money available for him to establish themselves in that league.
Okay, we are going to talk Wraith Rovers against Hibs. We're going to talk about the playoffs, the results from last night and the matches tonight, and of course, small matter of the Champions League as well. You can give us your thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. We'll also discuss season ticket prices. A number of clubs are freezing the season ticket prices, and one club is talking about a safe standing area. Could that be the way ahead for so many other clubs in the Premiership? We'll discuss that, Ruffy and myself, in the company of Mark Guidi. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Mark Guidi is with us here as our boot-room guest. A couple of days ago, Hearts decided to freeze the season ticket prices, and well done to Celtic. They have followed suit.
Yeah, it's good news for Celtic supporters. I think the books are out just now to be renewed. Peter, a lot of people still waiting to see who the new manager is going to be. But, you know, again, the source of income from season tickets, Peter, I'm guessing, somewhere between 14 and 17 million pounds. You know, it's a hell of a lot of money, and it's great if you could get that into the bank, and the Celtic into the Champions League. You're talking, you know, there's 30 million quid in the space of 3 or 4 months. But first and foremost, it's all about who they get as a manager, and then you take it from there. But it's good news for the fans. Yeah,
you would think, Mark, that the calls are being made as we speak to potential candidates, because this is a big call.
It is. There's no doubt that there's been contact with potential candidates. I think the list is impressive, Peter. For me, it comes down to 5 or 6. I think you've got Davy Moyes and Brendan Rodgers in your top 2. I don't think Brendan Rodgers will be anywhere near it, but I think Davy Moyes will be. And then you've got the next bracket of Paul Lambert, Malky Mackay, Michael O'Neill, Henrik Larsson. Then you've got the interesting 2 for me are Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane. You know, where do they figure in it, either as a pair or one of them as an individual?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that. I can only read from the manager's call on this one, Ruffy, when I was over speaking to him in Ireland. Martin O'Neill said that torch has passed. Could he suddenly have a real twist in his mindset by Dermot Desmond because of their relationship? And I can't rule out Roy Keane on the relationship with Dermot Desmond as well. I know, you know, some people would think it's just not something that would excite them, but it would excite a certain section of Celtic supporters.
Well, too right it would. You know, the success that he had was he had rapport with the fans. It was there for everybody to see. But I don't know if he's enjoying. I think he is enjoying the national football. I think he's enjoying, you know, what's happening there. And I think maybe the day-to-day stuff, you know, he's done it, you know. So I think maybe just being in charge of the national side, he's obviously going to come back for the Euros if they're relatively successful there. I think that might be the way he's going. You know, I think it's when you get into the day-to-day stuff, I think one of the reasons he left it was because he'd been there for the duration, as Gordon Strachan said when he left as well. I've done my 4 years, so I can't see him going back either.
I think Martin O'Neill fancies one more crack at a club job. Peter, I'm not saying it's Celtic, but I think he fancies one more crack. Roy Keane, you know, definitely does, but he might be the successor to Martin O'Neill with the Republic of Ireland job. But one thing about the Celtic job, I think it's a high calibre of candidate. The 5, 6, 7 names that were mentioned, and the one thing about the Celtic board, they are trying to go and get the very best that they possibly can. And they know when it comes down to the crunch, you can't compete with the riches down south, but they're going to try. They're going to try and produce the very best possible manager for the supporters and for the club.
Yeah, see, the one thing I would say, Robbie, is I don't see David Moyes going back to Everton. I think they've got that view that he's been there and they're now looking for someone else. So I can't see that happening. There's no doubt David Moyes will wait and weigh up his options to see if a job in the Premier League comes about. You know, Southampton, if Koeman moves on, you can forget about Tottenham. It won't happen. You definitely won't get an Arsenal job. You know, that's the only type of club that I think potentially is in the running to attract him, unless there's somebody in the Championship with a stable board who's going to throw money at it.
Yeah, eventually, you know, there's big clubs in the Championship, as you say. If Newcastle go down, if Benitez goes, you've got Aston Villa, you've got Leeds United. If they get a proper, so there's
but he's
big
not
ones
going to take Aston Villa, Mark, because he said to us that he wants to win things and he wants to play Champions League. So I just don't see. Based on what he said, I just automatically threw 5 or 6 clubs out of the reckoning.
No, I agree to a point what you're saying, but you never know if you sit down in front of an owner, Peter, particularly Villa get bought over, and all of a sudden here's a vision and we want you to drive it forward. It can be very tempting because of what you can earn personally, although I don't think that would be the main motivation for somebody like David Moyes, but what your budget's going to be. But let's say Celtic, from what we gather, are in the running and they'll give it their best shot. And for Scottish football as well, to have someone of that ilk, come to work up here would be terrific. Yep.
I'm looking at the potential clubs who could be coming up tonight. We've got Wraith Rovers against Euro Club Hibernian. Is it too close to call for Europe, or do you think, based on the strength of what Hibs have, they should be at least coming away with?
Well, you would like to think so, but I think Wraith Rovers are the form side. They get into this game with bags of confidence and players on form as well. So it's going to be a tough one for Hibs. I mean, obviously looking at the betting for the game, Hibs are something like 1-3 up there. I just can't see that odds at all. And I think if they come away for Kirkcaldy with a draw at least, it would be something they can build on.
Yeah, the great thing about these playoffs, as Hibs found out to their cost as well, that first leg, you could have a commanding lead and then it can all collapse in that second one on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wraith Rovers will want to go, and if they can take something to try and hang on to Easter Road, then the pressure builds and Hibs in front of their own supporters. They'll have a cup final at the back of their mind. I just think, Peter, it could work out to be one of the best seasons in Hibs' history if they get promotion and win the cup. But I just think it's a huge ask. The potential of three two-leggers, so you've got 7 games in what... 18, 19 days, I think it's just too big an ask to do both.
Yeah, Ruffy, I've tipped them to win the cup just so that I can actually walk around in Edinburgh again. And I get the feeling that I think a lot of sensible Hibs fans would definitely want promotion.
Yeah, I think promotion's where you want to be. We've already spoke about the derby that's lying there, and what it means to both sets of fans. So yeah, I think getting up is a priority, and I've said it all along. Once you go on a winning run, I remember Rangers went on that run, and they had a backload of games to play, but they wanted them because they were winning. They were winning every week, and the fans were right behind the team. So it's important that you start winning games and go on that run.
Who's your tip?
Hibs, I'm going to still say Hibs, yeah.
Mark?
I'm going to go for Falkirk to be in the final playoff, and I think Kilmarnock have just got too much to do, so I think it'll be Falkirk against Killie.
And Falkirk or Kilmarnock to get it?
I'll wait till I'm back on the show and I'll answer that one.
Yeah.
It's a bit early yet. I always like to wait and see the teams.
Any chance you can give us it now, just in case you don't make it back? Let's crack on. You can never be too sure, Ruffy, these days. You can have
I don't like taking anything for granted, Peter.
You can have a fallout.
It's the same with the sixes.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I don't know all about being phased out of that as well. Just on the point of tipping people, Atletico have certainly surprised us all with Bayern Munich. Man City or Real Madrid? Cristiano Ronaldo fit and able?
Well, do you know what? I'm looking forward to that game tonight. It'll be brilliant. I tipped an All Madrid final, Peter, last week in the show.
Yep.
Ruffy tipped Atletico against Bayern in the final. I'm still trying to work that one out. So he was right. He's half right. But I think tonight will be a cracker and Ronaldo coming back. But you know what? I don't know Pellegrini at all, but he strikes me as a nice guy, and I'd love to see him getting a turn. And I think Man City against Atletico Madrid would be a more open final, something a wee bit different. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I think it's going to be Real Madrid, Ruffy. I think Man City will eventually cave into the pressure tonight.
Yeah, I think the only way for Man City is a score draw. I can't see them going there and winning, or obviously penalties, but you would think at home with Real Madrid, where I don't think Benzema's playing, but at Man City have got a couple of players out as well. So, got to go for the home team.
OK. Just before we finish, guys, I noticed that Celtic have mentioned that they intend to put safe standing in place for the start of next season. I think it's a great idea. Obviously, in the wake of Hillsborough, people are very, very sensitive to things. I think the Taylor report totally and utterly revolutionised football and football stadia. But I do think safe standing areas, as we see in the German plan, work.
I think it certainly enhances an atmosphere inside the stadium, Peter, and I think, if we if we trial it in Celtic Park and you get a bit of atmosphere generated from it and everybody's safe, which is the most important thing, then why not? Let's just kind of phase it in a bit at a time and see how it goes. But I would certainly welcome a small section in every ground to be honest and see how it goes.
I think it's a great point Mark makes. I think a lot of clubs would love to see an area regulated, but an area you can stand again, Ruffy.
Yeah, well, if you go to most clubs in the SPFL, there are segments of areas where they have special supporters. You know, you have Motherwell, you have them over in the corner, you have Hamilton, they're over in the corner of the stand. So if you get them all into the one bit, it just generates a great an atmosphere at the game.
Yep. Well, we'll see exactly how that all pans out at the start of next season. You can give us your view on that at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Thanks to Alan Ruff and our Bootroom guest Mark Guidi. If you get a chance, do join us on tomorrow night's programme, and it all starts at 7 on STV. Thanks for watching.